Hi, Danielle. Hi, everybody. This is Corey Hill from the Partnership for People with Disabilities at Virginia Commonwealth University. Thank you so much for joining us for our SC Chats. I have that it is noon and we're going to go ahead and get started. We've had some great people who have been listening to some back end of the PD team getting prepped for this. So I hope this is all going to go smoothly. I have a great team who is going to help me with backup today as we learn this new tool, Zoom. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to ask you, we always like to hear who has joined us. If you will use your stamp tool or the drawing tool and put a mark where you are located so we can see who has joined us. If by any chance you are joining us from outside of Virginia, put your mark somewhere in the white area, and then if you'll type in chat what state or where you're from, we love to know who's joining us. We can go, there we go. So I see Lisa from, some people from the beach area. Easter Seals, Norfolk. Yes, it's fine. If you can't figure out your stamp tool, that's just fine to put it in chat. That's okay. Welcome, Norfolk, Salem, welcome, Central Virginia, Virginia Beach. I wish I was at Virginia Beach right now, Hampton. Just going to give people another second if they want to either drop their stamp tool or type Fairfax. Well, we have lots of Virginia Beach people. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. Southwest. Hey, Mary Lou Hutton. Nice to see you. So typically when we hear about teaming and collaboration and early intervention, we tend to hear kind of the norms or the ground rules. Whenever you read scenarios, it's things that are going so well. And one of the things that we thought we wanted to focus on is what happens when there are some challenges around teaming. So as we think about good teaming and collaboration strategies, we think about a team who understands their purpose, a team that values and respects one another, members respect each other, they communicate openly and honestly, they help one another, they share, they understand the common tasks and understand the unique roles. So what I'd like you to do is put your stamp or your mark on which one of those you think is the most important. If we can go back to the pie chart, there we go. So put your mark on which one you think is the most important element when you think about good teaming and collaboration. There we go. Somebody put value and respect one another. Communicate openly and honestly. Respect. Anybody struggling with the stamp tool? We do know this is new. That is just fine. You can type it in chat. Lots of respect. Yep. Value and respect. I'm just giving you guys another second to keep typing in or use your stamp tool. All right, thanks, Jeannie. Everything, yes, I agree. A mark, I agree, all of those. So that actually is a perfect segue. We know that those are all really good strategies, but we also know that teaming can be really hard. It can be challenging. So what I'd like you to use your chat feature is, what's your biggest teaming challenge? What do you struggle with? Danielle says failure to communicate. S. Citro says schedules. Yes. Trying to accommodate so many people's schedules and busy. Everybody's busy. Mhm. Focusing on family priorities when creating goals and talking about the primary provider. Yes, thank you, Salem, Easter seals. Ah, I just did kaleidoscope. So A Mark said having providers understand the SC's role, scheduling from Fairfax. Yeah, those are all teaming challenges that we face, regardless of what role we play on our team. So let's go to the next slide. Consistency, Dana says, across providers with the indicator. Oh, sorry, I said Dana. Children's Center, consistency across providers, scheduling. Everybody has busy schedules. Yes, yes. So when we think about teaming and some difficulty, let's look at the first one, the one where the children are kind of butting heads. What happens? What do we think about? We're going to talk about these when team members butt heads. Maybe they don't communicate openly and honestly. There's a lack of respect. Let's look at the one with the ball. Maybe you have some team members who aren't willing to share the common tasks, or they think their role is so unique that nobody else can really understand what they're doing. And then the last picture, the ones with the children, with the one with the children drawing, when you have a team member or team members who really don't understand the ebb and flow of good teaming practices. And what I mean by the ebb and flow is the idea of kind of learning how to bounce off of each other, how to anticipate. A good example of that can be if you are doing an assessment and you have a provider who is so focused on getting her protocol finished and her tasks done that that person doesn't pay attention to the fact that somebody just asked the exact same question, or the answer could have been determined by how the parent responded, but so focused on getting that protocol finished. So those are all things that happen. So let's go to the next slide, please. So again, we're going to kind of use these good teaming strategies as our grounding slide for today. We're not really going to spend time on the light purple helping one another because you know what, you guys, that's just a kind thing to do, regardless of whether we're talking about teaming, collaboration, interacting with one another. We're also going to be spending our time today focusing on team challenges with providers, even though we know that there can be team challenges with the family as a member of our team. So before we leave today, I'm going to share a little bit of information, but stay tuned. There is a national work group that's called the Early Intervention Universal Curriculum Work Group, who is actually working on a module that is going to have some challenges with both providers and with families who are struggling with some teaming and collaboration kinds of things. So what we're going to do, this is what we were kind of trying to figure out. We're going to let you drive where we hop during this SC chat today. We are going to focus on the light green, understand team purpose, the darker green, share common tasks and understand unique roles, or a combination of the dark purple and pink, value and respect one another, and open communication and being honest with one another. So I'm going to let you to determine where we're going to go. So put your mark on whether you want to do dark green, light green, or purple pink combo, or again, type it in chat, and that's where we'll start. So I'm going to give you guys a minute to go ahead and make your selection. Mary Lou says purple pink, dark green, purple, pink. Pink. I know that some of you are connecting with you have other people with you, so I'm just going to give you one more second. Go ahead and make your choice. All right, so if your color was not chosen, don't worry. I hope we're going to be able to actually hit a couple of these, but it looks to me, Jeannie, like we're going to start with dark green, sharing common tasks and understand unique roles. So when teams are willing and excited to share common tasks and rely on skills and expertise of each team member, teamwork and collaboration is actually pretty sweet. It's pretty easy. Sometimes, though, we know that teams really struggle with members because they don't understand the common tasks or they're not willing to share, maybe because they feel that they have a unique role and they worry that their expertise is somehow being diluted or watered down or dismissed. So when you think about what does it look like when teams have shared understanding of their purpose? So let's use our chat and see if we can answer. If you have a team that understands shared purpose, what would that look like? Meetings flow well with the family, a good flow. Family-centered, more cohesive, strong communication and assessments and team meetings. Everyone's voice is heard. Nice. Open communication, consideration of all team members. Oh, Children's Center, I like that one. No crosstalk. Absolutely. Meetings and sessions are more family-centered. There's lots of listening. Including the parents and families too, where everyone is equal. So the families have that equal role. I'm afraid I cannot hear anyone. Somebody, if Lisa or Dana, if you would be willing to respond to ASOLA2 and see if you can help troubleshoot with that, that would be great. Thank you. And he also says valuing everyone's knowledge and opinion. Everyone has something to contribute. Yeah. You're going to find as we start talking about these that there is lots of overlap in our pie chart. So let's take a look at our next slide, and we have this situation with Chen. Now, Chen is an occupational therapist who previously worked in a hospital setting, mostly with geriatric patients. He says he was interested in working with infants and toddlers to broaden his skills and to be well-rounded in his discipline. Chen, however, seems to struggle with the more cross-disciplinary approach of early intervention. He frequently talks about his OT code of ethics. He struggles with using a coaching approach because he does not believe most families. I'm laughing at Dana. Dana says, look at that glare. Chen struggles with using a coaching approach because he does not believe most families have the skill set that he has because he went to school to learn how to provide occupational therapy, and most families did not. So not an uncommon thing. This is a scenario we actually do hear often, that for some providers, for some early interventionists, based on what they learned in school, where their comfort level with coaching and understanding how early intervention is delivered. This is something, and that idea that they're a little afraid that perhaps their skill set is being watered down, or somehow or another we're saying that families can do what they went to school. So what I would like for you guys to chat a little bit is to think about, how do you share information with parents, with family members, with new providers about early interventions, cross-disciplinary approach? Are there resources that you use to help orient people to that? So take a minute and type in chat. Somebody says share the association, the OT code of ethics. You're right. It's absolutely something that we could share them. That we use our skills, Fairfax says, to teach other people. Yeah, training. Danielle suggests training on cross-disciplinary and the whole child approach, how the skills are interrelated. Yeah, so we're not trying to water down anything. Somebody else mentions encouraged Chen to observe some visits. Oh, this is Dana, or get another job. Yeah, he might be in the wrong field if he's. Children's Center says we are waiting because we need a good resource. So again, if you guys are struggling with this kind of thing, I encourage you to think about, first of all, there's that really nice video of what early intervention in Virginia looks like, which is a good global quick orientation to what EI looks like. There are also some videos, and we can either, if anybody from the PD team can pop those in chat, we have the routines-based early intervention, but therapists all have a code of ethics, and each association actually does say things about working in early intervention. So OT, PT, speech, and those are resources that we can share after our session today. So Children's Center, hopefully that will help you, but I can send some stuff. Fairfax says, we say that each provider has a whole multidisciplinary team behind them for support. Yes, that whole back, the other people who might not be providing direct service, but are available to help with consultation, to talk about situation. Fairfax says they have a welcome book to explain primary provider and coaching. Fairfax, if that's something you're willing to share, I'd be happy to share that. Or Children's Center, you can reach out to Fairfax, as that might be a tool. So Dana has popped in the other videos. We have lots of videos on the early intervention professional development site that might help with those. So yeah, so thank you. So those are some, we have some strategies. We've kind of come up with some tools that people are using. I think it's really important. We talk about having those elevator speeches of helping people to understand what early intervention, especially for someone like Chen, who has come from a very, very different kind of setting, and his experience. He probably worked very one-on-one with his geriatric patients, and now we're thinking about a more family-centered approach. So if that's something you need more help, please feel free to let us know. We'd be happy to support that. So let's go to our next one. So we're going to do the same thing. We're back to our pie chart. We just finished. And so you can pick now. Again, we're not going to do the light purple. We just finished the dark green. So between the purple and pink combo or the light green, type in chat which one you want to go to next, or use your stamp feature and drop it in. Pink, 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 pink.
And Corey, just for the people that may have missed the directions on how to use the annotate, if you hover towards the top, or if you see something that says view options, click the arrow to go down and choose annotate, and a toolbar should pop up, and then you can just choose a stamp to drop it.
Thanks, Lisa.
No problem.
Ha, lots of people, Lisa, they just needed that little prompt. There you go. There you go. Well, you guys, it looks pretty clear to me that people want to go to value and respect one another and communicate openly and honestly. So Jeannie, before we jump, what I'd like you to type in chat now is, when you think about, I'm sorry, Jeannie, go ahead and jump to that one. I apologize. When you think about how people show respectfulness and good communication, what would that look like? And R. Whitehurst, she's talking about Chen. I do see your comment. Yes, absolutely. If Chen had an opportunity to mentor with another occupational therapist who does understand family-centered practices. Yes, thank you. So what are some key elements that you see when people are respectful and use good communication? Go ahead and type that in chat. Angelina says understanding. Being kind. Isn't that just like such a good common thing? Active listening, being responsive. There's no discordance. Opinions and input are valued. Invited to meetings, approachable. You guys, my daughter just recently asked me for my opinion and then wrote in parentheses, but only if you agree with what I said. And I was like, wait a second, that doesn't work. So yeah, so valuing those opinions and input. Time to communicate, active listening, good collaboration, working together to problem solve and share your experiences. Yeah, those are all great skills for showing respect and good communication. So let's take a look at another scenario. I'm going to go ahead and read these again in case not everybody is able to see what's on the slide. Abby and Vivian are members of your early intervention team. Abby is a relatively new developmental service provider, and Vivian has been part of your team for about 5 years. Abby frequently wants to try new technology, talk about the latest research article or blog she recently read on social media, etc. Vivian really enjoys focusing on relationships and team building. Although both women are professional, there seems to be constant tension or an underlying current of mutual dislike between them. So has this ever happened to you? Go ahead and type in chat if you have had that experience, that they're just your team members who might not care for each other. So type in chat, or you can use under your participant list, you can use your yes or green just by clicking that one, and I'll be able to see if people have had that experience. Yeah, Danielle says she's seen it. Happens often to Easter seals in Salem. Alexis says yes. I see somebody figured out the yes, no. I can see those popping up. Yeah. So So, yeah, somebody said they're pretty new, 3 months, and she has seen some of this, but Mary Lou says, thankfully, not recently. So when you do have a team that has kind of gelled, hopefully you don't see that. But Lisa noted that lack of respect of the perspectives of other people. Sometimes people have to be willing to learn and be open about it. Mhm. All right, so when we think about Abby and Vivian, and kind of where they're coming from, very different perspectives. Both are professional, but it's clear that maybe there's some challenges. So what strategies, or if you were the supervisor for these two women, what strategies would you maybe offer? Because we all know when this happens, it can be really uncomfortable. Dana notes that those dang Gen Xers. So yeah, Abby is actually a Gen Xer. Wait, no, sorry, Vivian is right. Dana, am I right? So we've been talking about generational differences and how people learn, how people view what's respectful interaction. So yeah, having to learn how that changes with different generations. Is something to really think about. If you guys are interested in that, we're happy to tell you the book that we've been looking at and some blog resources. Lisa says highlighting what each person brings to help them brings to the other person, help them reflect on that. Easter Seal says they're going to talk to them separately, then bring them together and point out how both strategies can complement each other. Yeah, I like that. That gives them the opportunity to be able to say as the supervisor what they need to say to you directly, and then having the opportunity to come together. I like that idea. Fairfax, when you talk about find something they have in common, a common goal, do you have any ideas or strategies that you might think about for Abby and Vivian? Tell me a little bit more. They say we're discussing. Just a second. That's good. We can wait. While Fairfax is kind of forming their response, I am also wondering if you guys can think about if maybe you're not the supervisor. That's kind of how I built this one, but you're a member of that team. What else might you do to help support and kind of get rid of that uncomfortableness between Abby and Vivian? So type that in chat if you're, let's see what Fairfax says. An example of something they have that they could have a common goal is finding out the family's priorities and concerns and focusing on those. So maybe, for example, because Vivian really values that relationship and team building, maybe Abby does have some resources that could support the family's priorities and concerns, or a new blog she's read, whatever those kinds of things. Let's see. Easter Seal says encouraging the providers to speak to each other outside of the home setting, discussing expectations for the whole system, and understanding that this can be approached in different ways. Lisa says it's so important to be a good model and not listen to anyone's gripes about the other. Yeah, and it's easy to get caught in that kind of thing, especially when you're feeling frustrated, but kind of trying to take that high road and not be a third person in this challenging situation, in that triangle between Abby, Vivian, and you as another team member. I'm going to wait just another second in case you guys are trying to get your answers in there. Anna says, value your own strength and coach them on working together. Yeah, I like that. So as another person on that team, you being the person that might be able to help support them through coaching and working together and helping them find, like Fairfax said, that commonality, that common ground. Yeah, I like that, Anna. Thank you. Easter Seals asks, do you have recommendations for service coordinators who are in situations where providers do not have respect for the quote paper pusher? You know, it's so interesting, Easter Seals. We, as I said earlier, we actually just did Kaleidoscope yesterday, and we had that conversation. Out of the 28 or 29 service coordinators, almost everybody was very new, less than 6 months on the job, and they all kind of laughed when I made that comment about helping them to feel like they are the team leader, that they are instrumental in building that team collaboration, and that they aren't just paper pushers. So I think that that's something that has to be talked about frequently, that it's not just the documentation. There are some resources that we have where we talk about what service coordination really looks like, what the tools and tasks. Certainly we have a service coordination module, but what the nice thing about that module is it really highlights all of the responsibilities that service coordinators really do have throughout the whole early intervention process. But I think that as a team, and if you are a supervisor, having that discussion of what the roles are and what the job of the service coordinator would also be something that would be really helpful. Asola says, maybe setting up norms in a separate meeting where expectations can be discussed and agreed upon. Yeah, I think sometimes having those team ground rules and what the expectations are absolutely can help with this situation. Dana suggests maybe the SCs could ask to join a provider meeting at the provider agency to talk about what their roles are and their duties, all that they have to do. She says maybe the provider really just needs education about service coordinations. One of the things, service coordination activities, one of the things we also talked about is, especially again with this new group, is many of them were much younger, and so they were on teams where the providers had been, they're much more veteran providers and maybe older. And so thinking about how the service coordinator could be active in educating those people about his or her role. Sola says, I come from a background of collaborative teaming where we spend a good amount of time professional development, how to be active listeners, how to respond with respect, and giving everyone a voice. If you have any tools or resources that we can share with people, please feel free to drop those in chat. We're always happy to do that. Let's see, when new providers come into the system that don't know me or my strengths, they share what my role is, and that other than just doing the paperwork, so that they know that I'm invested in the family and all that happens, and not just the paperwork, what to expect from me as we support the family together. Yeah, so that's a service coordinator responding. Doesn't always work, but I try and to put it out there. Those are great answers. I think if we empower service coordinators to do that kind of thing, I think it does set the stage, as Lisa said, to how important those. Oh, thanks, Dana. Was that Joe Sherlon? That, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize Joe Sherlon. I didn't recognize your tag. So thank you. Great ideas. Because people have such good ideas, I'm going to wait just one more minute and see if you have anything else you would like to add before we go to the next one. I am not seeing. Feel free if you want to keep adding, that is fine. Let's go back. And the last one that we have is understanding the team purpose. So let's jump to that one. Fairfax says knowing yourself, that you value your role as a service coordinator, that you're not just the paper pusher. Absolutely. Really feeling that respect, that you got hired to do a job, to be a team leader, to facilitate teaming and collaboration. I really like that. So let's think about, with all of these challenges, what does it look like when your team, and we can think about ASP teams, we can think about different teaming activities that maybe you have to do through your agency, but what does it look like when teams have a shared understanding of the purpose of teaming and those activities? How would you know it was going well? Type that in chat. When there's fluidity and positive exchanges. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that ebb and flow. No one overtakes. It's funny, you guys both use fluidity. No one overtakes the conversation. Yeah. Everyone understands the purpose of why they're together, and the process of being with the family flows. Collaboration, efficiency. Central Virginia added there would be frequent communication and support that reinforce the interventions that we agreed upon. No judgments. We all know that having our judgments is challenging, but recognizing everybody's point of view and being able to put our judgment away. Yep, I like that. Let's see. Everybody understands the purpose of why they're together. Yep, I'm looking to see. Actively listening to the family, but each other as well. Understanding everybody's role and their value on the team. Again, we're seeing some of that overlap. When I can disagree respectfully with someone, move past it easily due to having a solid, respectful relationship. Practicing tolerance. Thanks, Jennifer. Lisa says, yes, K-Bell, disagreements can be very healthy. I know it went well when I have the first conversation with the family after the initial IFSP. If the family is excited, feels supported, then we did our job as a team in explaining and respecting parents' input, their concerns and expectations. Central Virginia, yes, presenting a united front to the family and doing the rest of those behind the scenes outside of the home is so important. And again, that's something that's learned as teams start to feel more comfortable with each other and kind of know what's going to happen. One of the things that we talked about a lot is not having those conversations, not only in front of the family, but right outside the family's home too, where they can see that there's discussion. So take that away, take it somewhere down the road. Fairfax says if everyone is on the same page, including the family, you'd expect to see progress. Yeah, that's a measurability. If everyone is thinking the same thing and has the same purpose for that team, then you would hope you would see progress for the child and their family. So yeah, all really good ways to kind of recognize if it's going well. So let's see, somebody said, that just happened the other day. The mom called to ask what we talked about. Oh, so there was a discussion right outside where the family can see. Yeah, I really encourage people not to do that. we always, when I have any kind of conversations, I ask if we can go down a mile down the road to the McDonald's parking lot or whatever, because parents do look out the window and see that you're having those conversations, and then they're not a part of that team if that's happening with them not being a part of that. So yes, absolutely. So let's go ahead and look at another scenario and see what's going on with Rosario. Rosario is a PT who has worked for many years in EI. She is frequently a member of your assessment team. And during the ASPs, team members become frustrated because Rosario is so focused on checking all the box to complete her gross and fine motor assessment that she often repeats questions that another team member has already asked the caregiver. And that's so difficult when a family thinks, didn't I just respond to that? It seems Rosario doesn't understand that ebb and flow and give and take that a strong assessment team should develop. So what I'd like, Lisa says, insert the hit face emoji. What I'd like for us to talk about is this particular situation with Rosario. If that has happened to you, how do you start helping team members to pay attention to what other people are saying, teaching them to respect that everybody knows their parts, but even different people could get to some of the things Rosario needs on her checklist. So what are some strategies you guys use to help support your team with that? Type those in chat. So hopefully you guys are talking to each other. But let's think about when you have this kind of situation with Rosario, type in chat some of the strategies that would support Rosario so that she's not repeating questions. Let's see, Mary Lou says, preface a question, that's on other protocols or other sections, as well as with a comment to draw attention to the response. I like that. So you know that other people have that item on their tool, and then kind of calling attention to that. Draw attention to the response, comment after the family responds, because you don't want to say, oh, we just answered that question. But yes, helping kind of guide that process. Thanks, Mary Lou. Central Virginia says, when you're more aware of the strengths and weaknesses of the team, and then when you go over gross or motor section, help Rosario identify what is being said regarding her area. So there is some cross training, that trying to be more conscious of her going slower, but if she learns that the other parts of the assessment tool actually might be asking those questions because she's just so focused on her items. Yeah, I like that, Central Virginia. Fairfax says teaching active listening, fidelity to the assessments, how you use those, using reflection with supervisions or peers, or just clarify before you ask by by asking, did you already cover? So it might be that she just really did miss it, but being able to ask that question, or somebody jump in and saying, I think we talked about that, but let me make sure. Did you say he was able to do XYZ? Anna says, creating an understanding of why this is happening. Is she not familiar with the tool that she feels so nervous about it? Yeah. Before we jump to the idea that Rosario is just kind of so in her own little world, maybe she is anxious. So helping train her to increase her strength is a must. Yes. Children's Center says, as a service coordinator, I take the time to remind the family of the process and hope that the provider catches on that we need to stay on course, and then I address it after the meeting. Yeah, there's a service coordinator who feels very confident in his or her role. Absolutely. Easter Seals offers. Typically, providers will ask each other about the skills that I think it was overlap in various areas of development. This does not seem to be an issue that is concerning for the family during assessments for us. Yeah, so if people really do learn what other tools people are using and when there's going to be overlap, exactly. Paraphrasing shows not only that we're listening to one another, but it allows team members to hear information and minimizes repeating questions. Kay Bell says, as a service coordinator, tries to have everything written up by the end of the assessment. I find it's nearly impossible for me to catch every single item said. I'll make a disclaimer to the family. So you just tell them right out about that. And the team may ask them to state again what they've gone over in intake or the assessment. Not because we're not paying attention, but we're multitasking and may miss parts of the conversation. Yeah, during that assessment, there are so many moving parts, lots of people talking, child might be running around and being busy. Absolutely. I was observing an assessment the other day, and at the end, the parent said, there was just so much that I feel like I sort of checked out at the end too. So that can happen pretty easily. Lisa says some strong teams communicate after each assessment. What could we do better? What went well? Talk with a supervisor about training needs and implement learning bites. Lisa's giving a little plug. If you don't know what learning bites are, they're resources for very quick team meetings to help support professional development. We can drop that in chat too if you guys are interested in those kinds of things. A great thing. I heard you say that's a great kind of thing to help bring it back, that I already heard you say that. Joe Sherlon says, yes, Katie, I do that sometimes too. Yeah, you guys have some really good strategies. You'll see in the chat that Lisa has dropped some learning bites, but I do think that before we are so quick to be frustrated with Rosario, if we think about where she's struggling and maybe she just doesn't know how to do that, how we can support her is really good. Fairfax says, review the aspects of functional assessment that make it, EI different from other approaches. Yeah, even though Rosario has been on this team, maybe she is still struggling with the idea of functional assessment and what that means with using that protocol and how to use her tool to make the activities more functional. Yeah, great strategies. I'll give you guys one more minute to see if you have anything else you would like to add, but Rosario sounds like she's in good hands if you guys are going to help her be a better team member. So go ahead if you have anything else in chat you would like to add, anything else. Hey, Jeannie, it doesn't look like more, we're having more, so let's go ahead back, and we have about 10 minutes. And before we type in our best takeaway or a strategy you like, I'd like for you to type in chat if there are any other teaming challenges. Maybe we missed something. Again, focusing only on teaming strategies with other providers on your team. Is there anything else we missed that we might want to think about? So take a second and type that in chat, and then we'll look at your best takeaway. Everybody feel like we hit some of the primary teaming challenges? Let's see. Easter Seal says this is great training for service coordinators, but it would be helpful for providers to also have this type of training and potentially a kaleidoscope type training. You know, Easter Seals, we have heard that for many, many years and always on our radar. So we appreciate that information. So thank you. Fairfax, not having much face-to-face contact with providers. That's a good one. Okay. Central Virginia agrees with Easter Seals. Children's Center says, how do we get parts of our team like the finance department that see black and white to understand we're in a world of gray? We do not sit at our desk all day. Yeah. Anybody have ideas for Children's Center? How do you talk to some of those maybe more expanded parts of your team, like the finance department, to understand more about early intervention? Anybody have anything that they're using to orient or support those other people? Oh, Children's Center says they're at the point of inviting the finance team to go on visits with them. Well, now, wouldn't that be eye-opening? Wow, that's a very cool idea. I wonder if a family would let you video a visit. Anybody else struggling with that one? That's a new one for me, Children's Center. Lisa says make a fun and funny day in the life video to show the rest of your team who might not quite get the big picture. Okay, if anybody wants to do that, a fun and funny video, you call me. We love to do those kind of things. That might be a fun task to think about. So it sounds to me like talking to, I don't know what to call them, more expanded team members who might not be some of the ones we've been focusing on specifically today. Some challenges when there's limited teaming opportunities and face-to-face with providers. Those are some other ones we could be thinking about. So good, thank you for sharing those. That helps us to think if there are other things we might want to be thinking about with this topic. So as we get close to wrapping up, what I'd like you to think about is we've had lots of strategies, we've had some resources shared, people have shared all kinds of ideas. Is there one strategy or something somebody has said that, what's your best takeaway? What do you want to leave with this from this session? So put that in chat, please. Lisa says she's going to coordinate. Children's Center, you don't know the can of worms you have open. She's going to coordinate with you to make an entertaining video. Love it. Love it. Mary Lou says, I like the comment about the next visit with the family after the team meeting, ASP or IFSP, to reflect on how we did on our job. Yeah, that question that we use so often, how do you think that went? What would you do? I ask my students all the time, what would you do differently if you had a redo? Fascinating to hear what their takeaway is or where they felt like they were struggling. So yeah, I like that too, Mary Lou. Central Virginia says teamwork is a work in progress. It's constantly changing and needed for all parties to work on. You know, and one of the things that always happens with teaming is you might have a pretty gelled team and then somebody takes a new job and a new person joins and that completely changes your teamwork completely. You hire a new provider. So all of those things that, you know, I'm sorry, I can't remember which service coordinator who said, I tell them what my job is, and in case you don't know what I'm doing as part of that team, that's a great tool. Children's Center is taking a stand. We are not paper pushers. If you guys get a t-shirt, you know, I'm all about t-shirts, so I think that's a great idea. You can start a new campaign. Wouldn't that be funny for your video? That'd be great. Angelina says, I love the idea of clarifying what I just said, Angelina, clarifying my role as a service coordinator and believing in my abilities within my role, that I'm not just a paper pusher. I'm telling you, Children's Center, we have some marketing tools going on. Very nice. Yep, Joe Sherlon believes that too. Offer professional development opportunities so they can be self-aware. Children's Center, tell me, are you talking about specifically you're talking about other providers? I just want to clarify that's what you're thinking. So just type in chat if I'm right about that. Our providers and invite outside providers to the opportunities and trainings. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, Children's Center. All right. Well, thank you all so much. As I mentioned at the beginning, I wanted to tell you to stay tuned. So, Jeannie, if you can go to the next slide, please. So, are we getting T-shirts? Joe Sherlon, yes, we need T-shirts. This is the tool that I told you is coming from the Universal EI curriculum, a national work group that I work on. They're going to be called Teaming Tidbits. So I want you to stay tuned. I actually use some of the content that we are creating from that work group. Again, there will be, when you take those teaming tidbits, there will be like 6 or 7 different 20-minute little opportunities for professional development, but each one will have a family component too. So when that's ready, we will send out an email blast. You all will get it because you're on our list anyway. So stay tuned, and hopefully we will be able to share that with you. I'm hoping by the spring. We also posted at the bottom, and Jeannie's going to drop these in chat. There are 2 good resources from the Early Child Technical Assistance Center, or ECTA, that are teaming and collaboration checklists. Again, if that's a tool that maybe you want to think about, it helps you to reflect on what you do as a team member, or you can do it amongst your team members, that focus on some of the things that we talked about, the ability for a team to learn to grow together, and then also what quality communication looks like. So yeah, Lisa's saying we can type those, we can give you those surveys at the end. So I want to thank you all for joining us. The next Talks on Tuesday, we do plan to be sure that sorry, someone says, sorry, Dana says, someone make sure, someone at the, yes, that we get the survey. Yes, so we will get that, definitely, Children's Center, so you can get the survey. So we have felt like the service coordination chats have gone pretty successfully. So if you would like to see us continue those in 2020, if you can quickly make a note in the chat box that you'd like to see us to continue this activity, that would be great. So you can use your yes or your no, or just type in chat, but we are hopeful that we will be able to continue those. Yes, somebody said yes, she's new. These are very helpful. Great. We're actually enjoying putting these together too. So so at the end of this, you will receive a quick survey. When you get that survey, you will also get a certificate of participation. And I did see the note, Children's Center will be sure we get that, so you guys can all be sure and get your certificate. So I want to thank you all. You guys have really helped drive this conversation. It gives us more to think about, and we will be hopefully pulling together the next SC chat maybe in the beginning of the new year. So I hope you all have a great day, and we will talk soon. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.